Good Wednesday evening to everybody. It's Pedal to the Metal here on 97.5 The Rock. I'm Tim Herbst. I'm waiting patiently on the Moose Man. He's running a little behind today. What can I say? So if you see a little white Ford running around out here in Clinton County, just kind of move out of the way. He's on his way in. Probably he's got his flashers flashing and the lights are going and waving out the window. But until he gets here, we're going to hold down the fort and see what we're going to talk about this evening. Later on, Lenny Baticki is going to be joining us. He's the voice of Z-Max Dragway. They had the big 4 wide down there at Charlotte this last weekend. And if you happen to get on the Facebook page of All American Race Talk or even 97.5 The Rock, you saw some people from Breeze, Clinton County were down there visiting, saying that they listened to us on Wednesday night. And we want to thank them for stopping by and talking to Lenny. It reassures them that we do have listeners out here in Clinton County and that he's just not talking, 1,300 miles and nobody's listening to him. So we'll be catching up with Lenny here a little bit. He'll inform us what all went on at the 4 wide and what's coming up next week for the NHRA. And as far as they're actually going to do a live Saturday, last round of qualifying will be live. And on Sunday, semifinals and finals will be live on television. 55-minute turnaround for the top fuel and funny car teams. So this ought to be interesting to watch. Tune in ESPN2. At least it won't get preempted by a soccer game that you DVR it, and all of a sudden you got a half a soccer game, and then all of a sudden you miss half the race. So hopefully ESPN will have it together, and we'll get to see this going on. That'll be down in Houston. So we'll talk to Lenny about that after a while, and talk about the snoozer that was the Dollar General 400 out at the Kansas Motor Speedway. But we had some interesting things went on out there this weekend, or at least post race. So I'll talk about that in just a minute. Also on the show tonight, Scott Kuhn from Highland Speedway, the promoter there. He'll be in with us. And a young gentleman that's traveling throughout the Midwest. He's from California, 16 years old, driving a crate late model. James Eden will be in with us after a bit. I don't know if he's going to make it into the studio or we're going to do it by phone, but he'll be in after a while. So James Eden, a young and upcoming driver who will be with us in a little bit as soon as Moose Man gets back here. But first I want to run over what happened the post race. I don't know if any of you jumped on any of the internet stuff and seen it, but the number 20 team, that was Matt Kenseth, who won the race. Joe Gibbs Racing was fined big time for having some illegal parts in their motor. Apparently, they had some connecting rod issues with a minimum weight of 525 grams is permitted, and they're connecting rod. It says failed to meet the minimum weight according to the rule book. Now, according to what is on allamericanracetalk.com, crew chief Jason Ratcliffe was fined $200,000 and suspended from NASCAR until the completion of the next 6 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series championship points events, a period of time that also includes the non-points Sprint All-Star race. And he's placed on probation to the end of December. Car owner Joe Gibbs has lost 50 championship car owner points. The first place finish from April 21st at the Kansas Speedway will not earn bonus points towards the accumulated aggregate car owner points total after the completion of the 26 events of the current season, and will not be credited towards the eligibility for a car owner wildcard position. He's had the owner's license for the number 20 sprint car race car suspended until the competition of the next 6 championship points race, so he won't even get to earn any points towards that. And then therefore he will not be eligible to reach championship car owner points during that period of time. And driver Matt Kenseth has lost 50 championship driver points. The Coors Light Pull Award from April 19th at Kansas Speedway will not be allowed for eligibility. And the 2014 Sprint Unlimited, the first place finish from April 21st of Kansas, will not earn bonus points towards the accumulated aggregate driver points total after the completion of the first 26 events of the current season, and will not be credited towards the eligibility of a driver wildcard position. And they also have the loss of 5 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series manufacturer championship points. So definitely probably one of the heaviest fines that NASCAR's weighed down on everybody. And for the lightness of 1 connecting rod, according to what this says, I can't imagine they had just 1 out of 8. Usually you try to get all 8 connecting rods weighing the same weight all the time. I could see if they had actually had those light, all 8 of them, but only to have 1. That must be a misprint or something. I can't hardly believe it'd be just a 1. So it's going to be interesting to find out what goes on. Scott Kuhn has just jumped in the studio with us. You want to sit here, Scott, and weigh in on this a little bit? I guess you heard about the Kansas thing today, huh?
Yeah, we just read about it a little bit ago.
So one connecting rod, do you think that's the issue, or you think it's all 8 of them?
That's got to be all 8, don't it?
I would think so, yeah. Um, how much weight do you think they shaved off them to draw a penalty like that?
I don't know. I'm not a motor man, but you know how it is with NASCAR. If they think it's off a little bit, they want to set a precedence where nobody does it again. So who knows?
Yeah, they were pretty heavy on top of the Penske teams last week with the rear end of the 2 and the 22. So I guess this is their way that they want nobody messing with this Gen 6 car at all, do they?
No, they want it just the way they want it, no other way. So that's how they do it.
Well, you've been down there and worked with those guys already. I guess they pretty well. You think this will pretty well stand you, or you think Gibbs might have a chance of protesting it?
I think you know what? It's bad. I don't even know what did Kenseth get.
Oh, he got a bunch. He lost a ton of points, 6 owner points. He won't. Basically, he's not going to make it into the chase.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I can't believe that they'll mess him up where it's going to hurt him all year, but I'm sure the money will stick.
Yeah.
And the crew chief will stick. So.
Yeah, the crew chief was $200,000.
Yeah.
That's what he got. Of course, Gibbs will pay that. But still, he's going to be out for 6 races. He actually got the lightest of it all. He's going to be suspended for 6 weeks. Gibbs and Kenseth actually will probably take the biggest hit on this, so it's going to cost them the most.
Yeah. I don't know. You know how it is. They got that car so tied down where they really can't do much to it. I'm sure they're trying to find every edge they can, and they got caught. So.
Yeah. I don't know. You in this day and age, did they really think they were going to get away without them? I'm sure they tear down every motor that car.
Oh yeah, I mean they go as far as to weigh your transmission, so I'm sure that.
Oh really?
Yeah, they know, and they said that the tolerances are so close. It's been so long since I've been there. I've been hanging around with Lance Diders quite a bit here lately, and he's been telling me some of the stuff with the new car, and it's everything's within 10 thousandths tolerance on the location of the body, to the rear end, to the front suspension, to the location of the motor. So it's hard to do a lot with this car. So these guys are, in their mind, they probably weren't cheating. They were just trying to get something to get a little edge, because that's what racing's about, is trying to get something a little faster than the next guy. So
and they probably assumed that how many grams. Well, I mean, we're talking grams, and we talk connecting rods. We talk grams, pistons and connecting rods. You don't talk ounces or anything. You pretty well just talk grams whenever you start knocking weight off them. I mean, I know that from my drag racing days. I mean, we were allowed to lighten them, and we could have made them pencil thin if we wanted to. There was no restrictions on on the weights, and I mean, we worked on grams to get these things light enough to make them work. So I can't imagine they'd be any more than that. But do they use a steel rod, or they use a titanium type rod in those cars?
As far as I know, it's still like a steel rod, but they turn so many RPMs now. It used to be 10 years ago, 8,500 was a ton of RPMs. Now they're turning closer to 10,000. So you'd think if they had it too light, it'd just come apart. But
yeah, it says only magnetic steel connecting rods with a minimum weight of 525.0 grams are permitted. So so it's definitely a steel connecting rod, and they're still zinging these things 10,000 RPM. And they're doing it for 400 miles. That's just unbelievable.
Right. And you don't know exactly, that might be what the penalty they came up with, or the reason, but who knows, there might have been a stroke deal or something. They might have been doing something a little extra. Maybe it was a little long or something like that. Who knows? But,
yeah, any little trick that they could probably find to gain to their advantage. And it's so close, but Kenseth did have a dominating car. Did those lightened rods make that car that much faster that day? And I know it, especially in stock car racing. They're so close anyway. It doesn't really make that much difference, because it's just the setup of the car can make a car go faster, and they could be 5 or 10 horsepower less than what the other guys got.
Right.
But if they got the car set up, if you got the car set in a certain way, it's going to be, that's what's going to make the bigger difference than it is in strictly horsepower or something.
Yeah, I'd say it was more. I would think it helped more in qualifying than anything, but and it's different. Everybody, we're used to dirt around here, so it's different. You'll run a car from a lighter rod. You think a lighter rotating assembly in your motor, it really makes a big difference getting up to RPMs. When you go down on dirt, you probably go from like 2,000 to 7,000, 8,000, whatever it is they turn. On asphalt, your car runs, especially on those bigger tracks, your car runs more at speed, where your RPMs, if they're running 10, they're probably only dropping down to 8 through the corners,
right.
Or maybe a little lower than that, but it's just not. It's a bigger deal on our dirt stuff than it is, I think, personally, on the asphalt, because everything, it's heavier. The whole car is heavier. It's just, more mass moving all the time, so it doesn't woe down like where you're going to use it as a brake or anything like that either. So.
Yeah, I know. Like on our drag racing stuff, when we build those little 286 and 298 6-inch motors, and we were looking at 10,000 RPM, which back in the day was almost unheard of. You wanted them as light as possible, and once the car got launched, it pretty well carried itself down the racetrack. You didn't have, you try to make the whole reciprocating mass light, flywheel, clutch assembly, and everything all the way through it. I mean, even the pro stock guys are turning over 10,000 RPM at 500 cubic inch motors, and it's like you said, it probably more evident in qualifying than it would be during race. But, I guess they qualify and race on the same motor. So I guess they figured the motor was going to last. They were just going to go ahead and build a thing and make it, fast for the qualifying and hope it hung together for the race,
Yeah, they knew what they were doing.
Yeah,
they knew.
You don't think none of them guys at TRD said, hey, Matt, you might want to slow down a little bit and let Casey Kane catch you that last lap.
I mean, they were going to catch it, and I don't know. In inspection, they're going to catch it in final inspection. But I'm surprised if they knew it that they went out with the guy that was. It was pretty obvious they were the favorite to win the race. So.
Yeah, because he's won it before with another team. But you got to wonder, are the other TRD stuff that they got out there? Because Joe Gibbs has got it. So does Michael Waltrip Racing. I guess he gets his engines from too. So we're talking about Toyota Research and Development, TRD. And they're actually building the motors for the guys. Where Gibbs last year was building his own stuff, or the year before, and just went to this. And they've had some engine issues already this year. So, maybe that's some of the stuff they were experimenting with that was coming apart on them. And they, and it finally, they made it last, but it bit them in the butt.
Right. And things have changed so much. Like you said, the manufacturers, the manufacturer teams are building the motors. It's not like it was where every race shop built their own motor. So who knows, they might have been doing something they thought was within the rules and they found out otherwise. So.
Yeah. A very costly way of finding out, though. That's the bad part about it. But that's the part, when they're playing in the big boys games, they're gonna go with it. And I'm kind of glad to see NASCAR, for one, sticking to these kind of rules and penalizing these teams like that. It's got to put the fear of God to the rest of the pit area, wouldn't you think?
Yeah. I mean, it's it's the engineers, all the train drivers and stuff. They're the ones that decide that stuff. So.
Yeah, but you wouldn't think that maybe Childress or not Gibbs anymore, but Roush or Rick Hendrick doesn't walk through the thing and say, boys, this is a big embarrassment for everybody involved. The bad thing about it, he's wearing a Dollar General uniform. Kenseth was. It was their race. It was their car. And now all of a sudden he got the big fine out of it. You got to think that the major car owners are going to walk around and tell them guys, hey, I appreciate you doing whatever you can, but let's keep these cars. They're not fooling around. They're playing for real.
Right. I'm sure they're checking their stuff this week to see what they have. So.
Yeah. You think that there might be some engine swapping going on before Richmond?
Yeah. You never know.
Oh, well, we got Scott Kuhn in the studio with us from Highland Speedway. We're waiting on the Moose Man to show up. I see you brought somebody with you, huh?
Yeah. This is my buddy James. You'll have to get him to explain where he's from because it's on the other side of the world to me.
Oh, yeah? It's on the other side of the big hill, is it?
The big hill, yeah. He's just turned 16 not too long ago, and he's got him a pretty nice car. He got Lance Diders as a crew chief, and can't do a lot better than that. Top-notch Winston Cup crew chief, so yeah. They got the right stuff, and they come here to try running good, and we're glad to have him because it's always great to get somebody young in the area.
Yeah, that's for sure. Talk to the Dillon boys about how they got started in racing with Lance. I don't know if he's ever had a chance to sit down and talk to Lance Diders. He's got some good stories about the goings on and things that he's done in the past. And he's worked with you back the days of Austin Petty and
with Adam
Petty. Yeah, I'm sorry, Adam Petty and in that deal, and you guys all worked on the same team together back in the day. So yeah, that's cool. We'll get Lance in here sometime. I know you don't like to talk on the radio probably, but I'd like to get him in here and talk to him a little bit because he's definitely one of the guys from our area that's gone on and done something cool. I mean, you were out there and worked a NASCAR deal, but he actually he's out there too and working, and so it'd be kind of cool to get him in there to talk about some of the stuff that that he did for different race teams over the years out there. And now he's back here. I think he's going to start up a race shop of some kind too.
Yeah, he's actually, they're in the backside of my truck shop right now. They got a work area. It's where we got Jay's car here, but it's good to have him back home. And it's kind of neat because it gets me back into a little bit more, on the car side. I've been promoting here for about the last 5 years. So it's neat to see a car getting built, and it's a nice piece. It's a TNT car, and it's, I don't know. It's fun to watch. So and I've learned a lot through the years from Lance. In fact, yeah, he'll be a good one to bring in here and bring some stories. It's just I want to hear him first, so I know which ones involve me. Yeah, other than that, it's
Maybe it's one of those shows that we ought to tape first, and then we listen to it, we can edit it out.
For sure.
The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Right,
on that deal. Well, I mean, you look at what getting involved back into race cars again. That's the same way with me. I mean, that's how I got started. The drag racing thing, building our own cars and doing the racing, and then getting involved in the stock car deal. And then helping, doing my own promoting deal and helping you with the PR work at Highland. That's all well and fine and stuff, but boy, once you get around somebody that's working on the race car again, you all of a sudden get that itch to you again, and you want to start turning some wrenches and doing that stuff again.
Yeah, it's neat. My kid Tyler, he runs a kids mod, so we like the idea there too. We're talking about getting his car in the back and seeing what we can do to it and stuff. So
helping him out.
Yeah, and it's getting him motivated. There's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah, that means a lot when you got somebody that's knowledgeable and Lance is that. I mean, he helped me back out in the days when we were doing the street stock deal. He did a lot of helped me a lot, and I sat down and did a lot of talking with him about stuff and picked up a lot of things that, being a drag racer that I never had any experience with. So yeah, it'll be cool. We'll talk to Lance, see if we can get him in here some night. What's going on at the Highland Speedway? Well, I got you here, and Moose ain't here yet.
We're getting the water off the track right now. We're hoping it doesn't rain on Saturday. They kind of got it predicted, but my thought on the weathermen around here, they can't predict the weather to save their lives. So
no, I was out there Saturday. It was the infield looked kind of swampy, but the track and the pit area really wasn't too bad of shape.
No, it's when we had the big rain, it was like Thursday or something.
Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, we lost our concession area and stuff. It was a big deal. So we had a lot of cleanup, and yeah, leave it to me to leave all my equipment on the infield. So we've been changing oil and doing some other stuff. So yeah, everything got wet, but I said it was okay because the floorboard was dirty on everything we had. So at least everything's clean now.
Yeah, that's true. I rode in your tractors already. I know how they work. So so they're all cleaned out finally, huh?
Yeah,
you got the oil change. Yeah, that's a bad looking sign on the internet when all the racetrack equipment sitting out in the middle of the infield up to the bottom of the door, rocker panels full of water and stuff.
Yeah. So it could be worse. If it had came up some more, we'd lost some equipment, but we lucked out. It stopped when it got right up to the motors and changed a little oil and sent it back on its way.
It probably needed an oil change anyway, didn't it?
Yeah.
Last year oil in them.
Right.
Hey, well, we got a big show coming up this Saturday. You got it's going to be 70s night actually, so we're looking for guys to come out and dressed in however they saw the 70s, either the tie-dye T-shirts and the hippie beads or the disco stuff that happened later on in the 70s.
Right.
Whatever era you lived in, and we're going to have prizes and stuff. Judges, I guess, are going to judge the fans.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it is, but the fair boards always they put together a good package for that, and it'll pay something for the top 3 usually. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it's a neat deal. We've seen, Adam Koch. It was one good thing about it getting rained out last week because he said he couldn't be there because he was at a wedding.
Yeah.
But he's by far the craziest one when it comes to 70s night. So it ought to be interesting to see what he comes up with. And it's, he's another one. It's cool to see get back into racing. Adam's been out for a while, and it's got him a street stock. And our rumor mill has it he's looking for a B mod. So it's
and next step up the ladder.
Yeah, and he's won a feature and he almost won another. So he's off to a good start. So it's tough to be out of it and get right back in it. And he's done a good job, and he's got his little guys down there as his pit crew, so that's
cool.
He's doing good.
Yeah, I'm just amazed this year at the Highland. We've got you did away with the Hornet class, and so you've got your street stocks and you got your B mod class. How many of those guys that were running the Hornets made the transition? Some of them jumped up into modifieds all the way up. Some of them have just moved into the B mods, and some of them have moved over to the street stocks. How well these guys have adapted, and they're up there in the top running. In the top 5 to top 10 every Saturday night. These guys so far have been racing that were in the Hornet class. Kind of gets me that they were all like, we can't move up, but these guys have moved up and done an excellent job. And then some of those guys that were in the street stock class have moved up to the B mods and then on up to like Justin Ketchell. He's moved up from what was he at? A street stock or something years ago, and now he's up. He's
sportsman car.
Yeah. He's in a feature. He's done a couple.
2 features this year. And he's fast. He can go anywhere and be fast. So he's another one. He's really, I'll tell you what, he got him a Shaw car, and I know Mike Harrison's been helping him a little bit, so it's really, really, really shown. I mean, he's come a long ways. But yeah, and there has been some guys, Sean Horseman, he's the obvious one that went from the street stocks to the B mods, and then Brent Eilerman, and he was a Hornet driver. He's got him a B mod, and he's doing really well. It's you and I have talked about this till we're blue in the face is what's the right move, and yeah, I caught a lot of heat over that class. I hate to get rid of any class, but it was to a point where, me, I try to where I think it was hard for people to get into that class and just start racing because it was hard for a kid that didn't know anything. I like a class where you should be able to 16, and drag a car out of the junkyard. And those days are gone, but
Right.
we still got to find a place for these guys to get them interested. And the Hornet cars where, you go out and buy one. The way you win is go out and buy the fastest one you could from whoever, and there wasn't a lot of ingenuity. And these kids that are, Sean and Brent, they're learning suspension, they're learning cars, they're learning motors, and it's neat. And they got their friends down there, and that's what's going to help build our sport.
Right, and I mean the fact that they already got guys that are looked at moving up to another class besides that. They're looking at going into the crates or going up into to maybe a regular modified or a super modified. So I think that truthfully, and you and me have talked this, and I've argued with one of the top guys that run a Hornet car. The class doesn't do anything to breed other racers, but I think starting them out in a street stock or a B mod is a good place to put these guys in to get them started. You got enough play days available for them around at the racetrack that they can come out and put a bunch of laps on, get used to it, so they're not a weapon. I mean, back in the day, you never ever got a chance to practice at all. You got stuck in the car and you went racing. That was it. You might want to chose to start in the back of a heat race or back of a feature, but you were racing. You didn't have no play days to go out there or have as many people out there today to actually want to go out and help guys get better. That's another good thing too. You got other drivers that have moved up or sold somebody their old car and they'll come out and help them get better. So that's a big plus.
Yeah. The prime one is and he's an experienced racer, but Chad Sellers.
Yeah.
Is running really good in that super late model, and that's Mark Faust's old car. And I've seen Mark at the racetrack every week help him, so that helps. Even though Chad, he knows what's going on.
Right.
But to get in when it's a huge change,
Sure.
to get into a super and more horsepower, more tire, more car, everything else. So he's made the transition really well. So it's.
And here's the guy that started out in go-karts.
Right.
He was racing go-karts. He was out there with the old Beaver Creek Speedway out there by Greenville. That's where he's cut his licks in racing and stuff, and he moved his way through the modifieds and track champion last year. Now he's moved his way into a super late model. And I tell you what, you got to watch him race, and you'd swear that he's been doing this for a bunch of years. I mean, he's up there and he's slinging that thing around there just like he did his modified. He's got it up against the wall, sparks flying off the back. So that's cool.
Right. He's always, like you said, he's always done it in a modified, and you kind of watch it like, oh, but he makes it work, so you can't say anything.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break here. Jack's helping me on the board. We're going to take a short break. We've run a little long here. We're hoping the Moose Man rolls in here. We're going to get a chance to call Lenny Baticki. We'll get James Eaton in here in a little bit. He can talk about his venture and how he made it out from California all the way out here to the Midwest. So we'll be back with more Pedal to the Metal on this fine Wednesday evening here on 97.5 The Rock.